Hey, y'all, welcome to You Too Near Me Not to Hear Me on a very, 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 very special interview today with my guy, James. I'm not going to tell the rest of it, but I call this brother Shep. This is my brother from the Midwest. This is my man who's known me from way back when. This is my man who actually brought me back to education. I have spent over 30 years in education. This man has done the same. And when we were some young guns, some young puppies in the Maryland, D.C. area, shout out to all my people back who love Republic Guards and that go-go music. Me and my man was putting it down. That's all I got to say. I was over at Largo High School, and my man was over there. What was that? At
Yeah,
Garden?
I was over in Suitland, Maryland at Skyline Elementary.
There it
Yeah.
is. There it is, man. So, I had to bring my guy back because he's been a familiar guest to the you two not to hear me, you two hear me not to hear me crew. He was one of my first interviews when I put this channel out on YouTube, and now, man, being blessed to do it here on Vibe AZ 24/7. I got my man Shep in the place to be. What's happening, brother?
Hey, brother, I'm thankful to be here, man. Thank you for inviting me on to this to your new platform. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, man. Hey, dude, I'm just happy to be here, man. Happy that I ain't got myself kicked off somewhere. I don't burn no bridges or anything like that. Nah. But Shep, man, listen, man. I just want to kind of jam right into it, man. So you, my friend, have taken on an amazing path in your journey of life. Deion Cole, and I mentioned this before. Deion Cole talked about, when you get to a certain age, you got 20 summers left. And he said, at 50, you got 20 summers left. And so at this point, man, you look at yourself and where you are and the path that you've taken. You've literally uprooted yourself from where you had spent some time after leaving from college and from home. And now you've gone someplace completely different. And in doing that, you have reset who you are and what you do to go back to your original passion and love. And I don't want to give it away, but I want to
Uh,
ask you, man, dude, how is that journey, bro? What? Tell me about that. A little bit about what's going on?
yeah, man. My God. First, blessed to be healthy enough and have enough energy to go back into the classroom. As you know, our journey together and us meeting started out in Prince George's County, Maryland, both being teachers, educators, and getting into the African American Males at the Teaching program, which was a partnership with Prince George's County through Dr. Alvin Thornton, who was a professor at Howard, but also on the
Mm-hmm.
Board of Education for Prince George's County Schools.
Mm-hmm.
And if my memory serves me correctly, during that time, it was, I want to say 97, 98 in the
Mm-hmm.
county and probably across the country and probably forever because of what the data speaks to in terms of males who are in education and then Black males who are in education, which I want to quote somewhere at least 1% or less than 1% of, of male teachers are Black male teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the program was designed to attract, train, and retain Black male educators in Prince George's County. And so you and I met because we were selected amongst a small few of young men during that time to be in that cohort to attend Howard University to get
HU?
our, right, you know,
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. But yeah, man, to get our certification, because we were both kind of what they considered back then, and probably to this day, change your careers. We didn't go through our undergrad with the intent of coming out with um, education degrees or whatnot. I know mine was in sociology with a major in psychology, and I think yours was maybe somewhere
Political
similar.
science. Yeah. Poli
Yeah,
sci
poli
pre-law.
sci.
I was supposed to
Yep.
be going to law school.
Yeah. And that's ironic. Same here. I took the LSATs, proudly scored a
Mm-hmm.
163. I still remember my score.
I don't remember my
Wish it
score.
still held up. Right. But
Oh.
yeah, man, and through life, as the saying goes, life was lifing.
Hmm.
Left Ohio, moved to Washington, D.C., got into the program, fell in love with education. And then we met again at Howard University back in 97, 98, and the rest is history. For me and for both of us, we both kind of rode that ladder, of how the cycle of education can go, especially what we knew for what was happening in the DMV area with young Black males or men who were deemed to be successful in the classroom. They were pulling you out of the classroom as
Quick.
soon as you showed a high aptitude to manage students and effectively educate. You were already chosen to be on that track for administration, however
Yeah.
short or long it took. And
Yeah.
so, you and I took that journey and spent the better half of, for me, about 14, 15 years, um, 8, 9 in the classroom, 14, 15, like I said, in administration, and then took some time off, started a education consulting business with a
Hmm.
couple partners in between those years, and now moving to South Florida in the last 2 years, found myself back in the classroom
Bruh.
for the last 2 years, which has been, as you and I used to talk about hip hop songs, we had our saying that things sometimes can be a beautiful struggle. And this is
This is
definitely
a
a beautiful struggle for me
uh,
right now.
that's
Love every
perfectly
minute
said.
of it. Yeah. I love every day with those middle school students. So I'm teaching middle school math, 6 through 8, along with a leadership skills and
Ooh.
development class, which is kind of teaching students soft skills at an early age, mixed with a little bit of financial literacy, mixed with a little bit of life skills. But it's just been a beautiful struggle. Ups and downs,
Man.
highs and lows, a lot of time to reflect, and just again feeling a lot of gratitude and excitement to be able to still be in those spaces at that grassroots level to still engage students.
Yeah.
You and I still look young, but we started early. I always get that from my kids. They can't
Bruh.
believe I'm almost 55. And, whenever that topic comes up, they just
Bruh.
like, man, you look like my dad. My dad is 30 something, something. I was like, yeah, I'll make sure that A is in the grade book. Thank you.
Come on now. That's what I'm saying. You know what, man? Let's unpack this a little bit, man. So
Yeah.
I know we're going to end up going back and forth over a periods of time, but man, I wanna talk about the seasoned educator that you are now, and knowing that now you're back in the classroom. But let me break this down for our listeners. When we started our journey as being teachers, we were some young puppies. And in young understanding that we got a chance to cross the path of one Dr. John Pennell. And I always see him as being like a great educator figure, man, that literally, and I'll say for myself, that literally broke me down to my essence of what it is. I maybe unlearn all the stupid things that I had done in the prior 6 years of education that had been there and restructured me within 5 years to become, I say, the man that I am in education now, and to what I have been and how I've influenced others in this time period. And you were a catalyst of that because you brought me back into the classroom after I said, "Man, I'm done with this." My father had passed. I had led a pretty successful career at Largo High School. And then when all those things happened, man, I just said, "You know what, Shep, I'm out of it, man." And you brought me back into a fold. So you had already been there and working with Dr. Pennell and being in DC at, one of the top performing elementary schools. And the thing that I think about is that stripping down process and building us up back process, man. What was that like for you when you initially got into it?
Um, well, of course, going from at that time a traditional public school and how public schools we know were run, and then going to a charter school was probably the biggest thing in terms of rules, regulations, guidelines, how you were able to operate in a classroom with a little bit more autonomy. That was the big attraction for educators to move from traditional public schools into charters back then. Of course, a lot has changed since then. But for me, I would say honestly, it was a perfect match. I
Okay.
always consider my teaching style unorthodox and untraditional from the start.
Mm, mm,
So, meeting Dr. Purnell and understanding his philosophy on educating, there was kind of like a match.
okay.
Um, I thought that he, as a school leader, was very innovative in and of himself, which
Mm-hmm.
probably led him to be chosen to start up that charter school after being in DCPS for 95% of his career. He only spent maybe a total of 5 to 6 years at the charter school that you and I were with him at Chamberlain.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for him in his later years, finding what I found as a teacher, he saw as a school leader, where you were able to cut through a lot of the bureaucracy, as they say, and the red
Mm-hmm.
tape of being able to find innovative and creative ways to engage and teach kids, and for him probably to manage staff and
Well,
and 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 control the direction of where you wanted the school to go without his hands being tied.
so let's look at that for a little bit, man. So I want to kind of give the kudos to that because you're talking about at the time that we were there, we were one of the top five performing um, elementary schools in the DC area. And when we had gone through testing and all those other kinds of things, literally the only school that ranked closest to us or even above us was Sidwell Friends. Now, when we look at Sidwell Friends, that's where the president was sending his kids, senators and Congress. And here we are talking about our school that is in Southeast DC, on Potomac Ave, but on the other end, near the bridge and the water, compared to then kids who are sitting there who have Secret Service details and things like that. And so you're talking about kids that look by color and by economic status and all these other things that are on the furthest end of the spectrum, but these kids are competing and we're setting a different mark at that time with that school for these kids to compete with anybody and to have that confidence of what was going on, man. I have to kind of give that to a prelude of this because of that we are the result of being a major part of how successful that school was and the things that were happening. Hey, within all that, man, we'll run away from this. Hey, look, we're going to take a quick break because I want to start breaking some of this stuff down for you. You guys are with me here on YouTube Near Me Not to Hear Me on Vibe AZ 24/7. Hey, we're going to come right back and we get right back into this conversation. All right. Hey, you're back with your man Dan, my man Shep. We are here live on Vibe AZ 24/7. You are in YouTube Near Me Not to Hear Me. Hey man, just to get that good introduction in, but bro, here, let's get to the meat of it all, bro.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me about how things have changed in this landscape that you see in education right now. What are you looking at now that you've gone back into the classroom and we are post COVID and we are in a full blown generation of kids that don't know anything but that cell phone? As a matter of fact, Chat GPT is like their best friend. That's like the new Cliff Notes.
Man, man, oh man.
And talk to me from the perspective of our listening audience who are either educators, who are
Mm.
parents, who are young people who are just stepping into their adult life. Look at it from that perspective, man. What are you seeing on this landscape right now, man?
Yeah. Oh man. You hit the nail on the head. I think for me, leaving the classroom in 2003 was the last time I was in the classroom full time before I stepped into administration for the next 15 years. And it's almost like stepping, being sleep, and then the Rip Van Winkle type situation, and now waking up and being thrown back into the classroom in 2024 and seeing the world through a whole new set of eyes, a world that you didn't remember when you left. I mean, technology is the thing that has changed everything. COVID, yeah, the COVID effect of students not being in school, and you talk about learning loss and lack of socialization with peers and all that.
How
I
how
think,
how is that kind of hit, just on that right off the break? The fact that you see the learning loss, you see it in
mhm,
their performance, but the socialization, like that is
yeah,
something that, I'm hearing from my friends who are, parents about, our these
yeah.
kids don't know how to talk to each other. They rather talk on the phone, they be sitting right next to each other. They don't when they go to parties and dances, they're just in a groups, and it's boys over here and girls over here, and they just doing whatever goofy little thing, and they don't know how
Yeah.
to connect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's interesting. We have about 2 or 3 times a year, we have dances, the socials for kids. And you see exactly that. You see the boys on one side of the room, the girls on the other side, but they're in their own little group and they're not engaging with one another. And every now and then there's some cross engagement, but you know, telling our age, I hate to use it as kind of like a marker, but even back then, you know, we were always still trying to figure out how to engage, each other, the shyness, the timid, all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. There's none of that as far as where I am and what I see. The kids are broken off and the boys will be dancing in circles, with themselves, and the girls will be over there doing their thing, if they're even dancing. Now, as the last 2 years progress, we had the last dance for Valentine's Day. So about
Okay.
a little over a month ago. And the kids weren't feeling it at all, even though, it was playing their music. They're just not into the kind of social engagement acts that we were familiar with coming up that became like rites of passage. They just kind of go there and just kind of stand and eat chips. They sell, at our school, they sell all the goods. So the kids just go there to eat snacks. Because in our
Eat some
school, the way
Takis.
that yeah. Oh my God. I didn't know what those were until 2 years ago. And the kids go crazy over those, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's literally for just a chance for the kids at the school that I am just to kind of be out of the classroom. They don't care about dancing, talking to one another at that level. They just kind of love just being in the space and just kind of standing around.
Really? So
Yeah, man.
that's just got to be kind of awkward then. Like, so then how are they connecting? How are you seeing them getting together and and at least interacting with each other? Is it strictly all through their phone? Is it just this, is it kind of like and this is what I kind of observe in some of my friends' kids, and even my family, cousins and nieces and nephews, that you're either an extreme extrovert, like you're to the extreme and you garner all the attention, or you're on the far end of the spectrum and you're a complete introvert. Like
Hmm.
there is no passage of what's going on in between. You're at the either end of the spectrum, and the awkwardness of just being able to talk with each other, and my boy says, man, they don't even slow dance with each other. We couldn't wait to get a slow
Man,
dance on.
man. Yep. I'm checking the boxes for all that. But what you said at the top was that they would rather be on their phones in the midst of 100 kids, all of them, than face to face, normal, what we would call normal engagement, being present with each other. They would all. It's almost like a stereotype of an image you would see about what they say about this generation. They would all be in a room. There could be music playing. And they all got their cell phones like this, talking to one another across the room and
And
laughing and
and
giggling. Like, and it's the oddest thing to see, but it's just what it is. But it also plays into going into the classroom. So to piggyback off that, like in the classroom, like you really, like for you and I, we were engaging teachers. Part of our thing that made us effective was that we were lively. We were actors. We put
oh
on a
yeah.
show in the classroom. So, for me, that still works with kids because nowadays they're used to watching videos to be entertained. So for me, I've even turned that up a notch since I've been back in the classroom.
Wow.
I've never showed out as much as I show out now, but I find myself having to do that just to keep them engaged, even though the students at my school aren't allowed to have cell access to cell phones.
Right.
That's very loose because they don't lock them up. The kids are just supposed to be on this integrity honor system, which doesn't work because the kids are always keeping their phones in their pockets. So, at any level, they're pulling out the phone
And,
underneath the desk, looking at a text or texting each other and blah, blah, blah. But
right.
for me, knowing all of that, I had to really turn up the notch on like being engaged and like almost being super silly with what I'm imparting with the education and knowledge, like constantly telling jokes,
So you're
constantly
so
like having these
you're
teacher moments.
you're like a
Yeah,
live TikTok. You're a live TikTok.
man.
You're an Instagram post. The whole nine. I don't know if the kids are still looking at Facebook, but now
Yeah,
and I kind of imagine that's what it is because that's what catches their attention. Like
yeah.
you know, have they recorded something that you've done in the class and then all of a sudden it got posted? Have you caught that yet?
Once or twice early on, but not as much now. Only because a couple of students in the building were caught videotaping some
Oh
other
wow.
stuff because they would go to the bathrooms and make TikToks. So, and the kids, they don't have the astuteness not to post and, it goes out. So then somebody sees it that shouldn't see it and then it comes to the attention of a teacher, then to an administrator. So yeah, that kind of got shut down. But nothing that I can remember that stood out. But I remember, kids doing little stuff when I would be in like a little skit about teaching something in math or whatever. I would just, be highly engaging, but nothing memorable. Um,
Did
but
you
I
ever
think
think
for
of,
me,
did you ever think about just doing that yourself, man? Just starting your own like TikTok or Instagram and start posting some of the stuff that you're teaching in the classroom. I know there's probably some legalities and all of the kind of stuff. Don't show the kids or something
yeah,
like that. But it's like, hey, you're like Mr. Shepard.
yeah,
Like it becomes like one of them things. And like, hey, man, you got kids all over the world tuning in to like your lesson or something that the way
yeah,
you broke things down. Because I mean, that seems to be the culture that we're looking at right now.
yeah. No, absolutely. Definitely thought about it because at this point back in the classroom, I've relied on a lot of the younger teachers who actually are into technology and into being an educator influencer. As I say, I watch a lot of their videos and I'm looking at that and like, man, you know, I should do that. But I think that the time commitment that it takes more time for me now with planning than it ever did back then when I was younger. I don't know if it's just because of age and the way that they want things done on paper. And then for me, having to be a little bit more scripted than I was when I was younger, because I was a little bit more daring and off the cuff. Now I find myself actually reviewing my lesson plans and kind of like, loosely planning out things that I could do when things go left or whatever. I'm planning a little bit. I'm actually planning more than I planned when I was actually in the classroom
Oh
now
wow.
as I'm
Okay.
older. Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, just for the simple fact that, like you said, the technology is a big piece that you're competing with. And then the peer thing is always there. So regionally, the other thing that I found out from being in South Florida that I heard, this is the mecca of football, man. My
Oh,
goodness.
bruh.
If it doesn't start when the kid gets out the crib and these pee-wees and all that kind of stuff. So I'm in middle school. So the boys are all about football. So that's all they talk about, like all day, every day. And these are sixth, seventh, and eighth grade boys already. You would think that these boys are getting ready to go pro because that's how deeply they're
But Shep,
entrenched
but Shep,
into
a part of
football.
your life was like that because of you coming up in Ohio. It was about hoop.
Yeah,
You were a hooper, bruh. Come
yeah,
on, man. And just coming from the Midwest, all my people
yeah,
back in Ohio and Michigan and Illinois and
yeah,
the states around there, man, we hoop.
yeah.
It was about
But,
hooping.
bruh,
So are you seeing
I
that
tell people,
parallel now about that of being, hey, Miami is about playing some
yeah,
football. Liberty City.
yeah. Liberty City. I'm in Miami Gardens, which is the other Carroll City, New Orleans, Central, Miami Northwest. I'm becoming familiar with all the top high school programs or half the NFL league comes from. But it's different. And this is another aspect that I talk about about returning back into the classroom and returning back into the classroom in the South, because they literally don't consider this the South. And it's funny because we talked about being in the
Oh my
DMV.
God.
Maryland starts the South geographically based on the Mason-Dixon line. We
Exactly.
had that debate. It's like, but this is truly, we're below Alabama, we're below Georgia. I know South Florida, but literally, I think that there's a component that up north where we're from, you being Illinois, I'm being from Ohio, there was a good blend of academic and sports, being that true student. See that really here. It's spoken, but in action, it's almost non-existent. Where we're from, it was spoken and it was displayed. We were
Wow.
trying to be student athletes to the fullest. Here it's student athletes, but it's like, yeah, we just forgetting about that student part. We just got to say that.
You say
It's
you're
kind of
an
like a
athlete.
secret. It's like, yeah, we just got to say that.
And man, on that note, that's a you too near me not to hear me moment right there. Hey, look, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna get back into that a little bit more, man. Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Dan and my man Shep. We're here on live on Vibe AZ 24/7. You too near me not to hear me. Y'all hold your seats and come right back. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back at You Too Near Me Not to Hear Me. I got my man Shep on here, and yeah, and during this break, Vibe AZ 24/7, man, we got into a real little discussion and forgot about. Oh man, we got to get back on and talk to you guys. Hey, so I'm gonna go right in on this thing about this age level of sports and how we're treating our young people who are engaging into sports, which I'm happy about because now that is a part of socialization. But man, the way that it's being handled now, you see it in the middle school level. I was just telling you about my boy who coaches these kids out here. They're the Hurricanes. They're basically this team out here in Arizona, but they're seventh graders, and they are some serious kids. But they look like a pro team. Their uniforms are the University of Miami Hurricanes, stuff. They got their pictures all up over. They got social media presence. They got their TikTok videos and everything. And I'm like, okay, I get it because it gives the kid some kind of boost of confidence that they can do it. But at the same time, Shep, it bothers me because we're in an age of everybody gets a medal, everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets a participation, and everybody's going to make it. And that's not the case. We still have the same statistics about the number of kids that graduate out of high school, if they graduate, going into a college program, NIL money, and then actually get to the pros after they've gone through the many years of AAU, whether or not it's men's sports or women's sports, all of these camps and levels of specialization now. We used to play when we were younger, we played all sports. Now these kids don't do nothing but the one sport, and they do it all year long. And the parents are spending these goop gobs of money because there's this belief that all of a sudden my child is going to get to the pro level and they're going to explode. And so they're going to have these big multi-million-dollar contracts, and they're going to have the shoes, but Nike and Under Armour and all this other kinds of things going on. And you and I both know, and what they don't say in the reality of it is that everybody's not going to make it. No one is guaranteed that they're going to get to that next level. And we know this as being just athletes ourselves. Some of the best athletes aren't in the pro game. These are the ones that couldn't make it because there's
Facts.
something happened to them along the way. Jordan will say that. John Morant will say that. All these cats who are playing right now will all say, I know cats who aren't even in the league that would blow circles around me. So I'm struggling, Shep, with the fact that this false shelf of society has built it up so that these kids believe that they're all going to make it, they're all superstars. And I don't want to burst the bubble of parents. But man, dude, you're seeing it right from the classroom because the kids are going to come back in after the weekend and talk about the games. How are you having these conversations with parents and giving them something that's realistic? Because, dude, you play ball on that collegiate level. You understand the ups and downs of it all. And yeah, about making it to the league or not, you understand the pitfall of it all. But you got your degree, you got your degrees, and you
Yeah.
turned it into something. Talk to me about that, bro.
So there's an interesting dynamic in my particular school that has been kind of like a silent, kind of unspoken thing with the kids since I arrived. The dean of students at my school, he played for the Miami Dolphins. He was a linebacker. He went to Auburn. He and I are about the same age. But he played with during the years. I can't remember. I don't know who was quarterbacking, but he played linebacker. So he was playing with Jason Taylor, Zach
Oh
Thomas
wow. Okay.
during those years. And so those are the years that he played for the Dolphins for like 7 years. And since I've gotten there, and this is also what I'm about to speak to, is a phenomenon about our kids, especially our kids. And they did this to us, you and I, when we were at Chamberlain. One, when our boys see us, you and I, the type that we are, show up in the school, the way we show up,
Come on.
they don't recognize what they're usually seeing with the faces that match the presence, how we speak, and how we carry ourselves.
Speak on it, bro. Break it down.
So when I got there, I was doing my thing because we were taught to be high level professionals in every way, shape, form, or fashion.
Come on.
That was one, being prepared, being able to go in that classroom, be well planned, well thought out, organized, all of that. You know, using all the strategies that we know we needed to use appropriately for the group that we have, all of that. We were very well informed, well read in education, continue to better ourselves as instructors. But not only that, we were sound or more than sound with pedagogy.
Come
But the
on.
other part is when we showed up,
Come
how we
on.
looked,
Come on.
because we did not come in that building like what, and I don't say this to say anything negative about the way that teachers show up now and the presence they have, but we were suited and booted. And that was the way that we were taught to come in
Man.
to continue to raise the level or keep a level of what standard was for an educator,
You
like
gonna
the
make you
whole
gonna make you gonna
shebang.
make me stand up, bro, because you know,
So,
you
so when I,
know.
right. So when I walked in this building down here in South Florida that way, this kind of skip it, the kids thought I was rich. So
Come
let me
on.
get that element. The kids
Come
thought
on.
I was rich. Just to kind of cut to the chase of a story, how the kids saw me show up, speak, and everything about what they saw on the surface. And then I was coming in on the tail end of the consulting business. So I had started there teaching kids about financial literacy. So a lot of my students got to really know me at a real personal level. And I wasn't afraid to share with them because I
Mm-hmm.
also wanted them to see what I knew was going on here, that you can still make a respectable or even more than respectable living for yourself without going into sports. You could use your academics. You could use your brain. You could be smart. It wasn't nothing to be ashamed of, and be educated, quote unquote, and
Mm-hmm.
do well, and particularly in our field. So juxtapose I guess my competition in the building was the pro football player. And they would always say, oh, Mr. So-and-so, yeah, because they would see, the dude, he has nice cars, he would drive to work or whatever, but he was just known to have played for the Dolphins. And the stadium is literally a half a mile from my school. We can look out the window and see Hard Rock Stadium. So we're in the
Wow.
backdrop of that. So he has a lot of weight for his 7 years that he was in, the league. And they were just was like, and then one of the boys had said something to me along those lines one day. And I said, well, I was like, Mr. Harris and I, we didn't want to say his name. We both took different routes in our lives, but
Mm-hmm.
yet we ended up both at the same place. And I said, just think about that.
Mm.
And I was like,
Mm.
how you see me show up, because to our young kids, it's still about surface. It's still about what they see you have, or how much money and this, that, and the third. And I said, well, think about that. I was like, I am here right alongside with Mr. Harris. Played football for 7 years. He had a 7-year career. And here we
Mm-hmm.
are at the same juncture, almost at the
Mm-hmm.
same age, in the
Mm-hmm.
same profession, the same field. And then, because the kids like to, do that kid thing. I said, this is not something. I said, this is also something. I was like, I don't have to do this anymore. I was like, I'm doing this
Come
because I'm
on, bro.
passionate about it now. I'm
Come
30
on.
years in. I was like, I'm pretty okay right now. I was like, I'm doing this because I actually love it. And you probably will be hard pressed to find anybody who would do this job
Especially in
and
middle
say that
school,
they
bro.
do it because they love it. Because a lot of people will talk that trash about their
Mm-hmm.
professions that they say they love. I do it for free and blah, 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 blah. I was like, find somebody who's actually doing it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
standing right in front of you right
Mm-hmm.
now. And you would
Mm-hmm.
never take that from me. So, going back to the topic at hand, that was kind of where I'm pushing my boys who are in this city that just is all about like football, 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 sports, 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 and then all the things that come with that, the notoriety, the fame, the attention. And I'm like, hey, everybody, like you said, everybody's not going to make it. But
Yeah.
what do you have to fall back on if you don't? Because the research and the statistics are out there. And so I'm trying to teach you that you can still be you can still be successful, but they want to be successful in this big way. I said you can still do that. There's just another path. It might take you a little longer because the
Uh-huh.
football is instant. You can get millions overnight,
Right.
but
I
my
love it. I love
path,
it. I love it. I love it. I
yeah.
love it. I think what you leaned in on is that everybody has these trajectories and pathways.
Mm-hmm.
And just because the pathway that doesn't look like the glitz and the glamour of what you're comparing it to, eventually everybody comes back to this place where we all
Yeah.
kind of get settled back into, man. And I like that because you probably talked about this during your times with the kids when you first came in and started giving them those life skills and talking
Mm-hmm.
about financial literacy and things like that. And with that, man, I'm going to come back into that. Like literally, Shep, I want to talk about what it was like coming in back in and what were some of the things that you were teaching them at that time in these kind of grooming, kind of after school kind of classes, or maybe during the school classes. But hey, with that
Mm-hmm.
being said, hey, look, we're on Vibe AZ 24/7. You're on YouTube Near Me Not to Hear Me. It's your man Dan, my boy Shep. I told you, man, we got y'all leaning on your edge of your seat. We're gonna come back and we're gonna literally talk about that classroom setup, man, and how things work, man. So hold to it. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, I told y'all we were gonna be right back. You're on YouTube Near Me Not to Hear Me. Man, right as soon as we took that break, me and my guy, hey, listen, lead right back what you were talking about. You were talking about that presence of how you come in and you present yourself in the situation with kids professionally and the whole nine. But you were starting to lean in on something, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I started going towards the question that we kind of left as a cliffhanger about me being back in the classroom. And I wanted to pivot to what I still feel is a failure on the educational system in general,
Come on, talk
particularly
about
for
it.
our kids. We are still not preparing our kids for the world that they're going to enter into. Education, to me, on a larger scale, especially for those public school kids who are in cities and in neighborhoods that fit all of those, you know, demographic, socioeconomic
Mm-hmm.
status, low income, Title One. You're checking all the, the disadvantaged, marginalized communities. Still, the way that and what we're teaching kids is still antiquated, and we're not truly, in my eyes, preparing kids for the world that they're going to enter. And if you keep going backwards and looking at that, we truly never did that at all. And now, with in the advent of the tech age and how things are moving so rapidly, we're still teaching kids, the basics in the schools that we typically are in. I don't see anything that's preparing them for their future. We're preparing them for the present, which won't be the present when they're out of
Mm,
school.
mm,
And
mm.
so I see that we're still failing our kids in that way. And
What
I'm
are
trying to
what are
figure out.
I was gonna say, like, what are some of the things that you're doing when you came in? You kind of, I guess it was like an after school program before you got into the classroom. What were some
Yeah.
of the things that were important to you to say, okay, hey, listen, these are the things that I want my kids to understand in preparation for this world? What were like two or three things that you said, okay, they got to know this?
Yeah. One, going back to a prior conversation, was teaching them to be able to engage the way that we're engaging, teach
Mm,
them interpersonal skills, teaching them to have conversations with people, and being able to speak. And it sounds crazy, but think about our kids. They don't talk to each other because they're texting. So one of the things that I implemented that the kids didn't think it was going to go over, because here I am like the old guy. So I'm in a building with a lot of young go-getters like we were
right.
30 years ago. And I'm like the old guy now. And I implemented the basics of morning meeting or morning circle or morning gathering, whatever people want
Mm,
to term it. And it has taken off like nothing I thought I'd ever see with the kids. So, we come in, and before we really start getting into teaching, is I just gather the kids in a little circle, and we just kind of go through a loose representation of the curriculum morning meeting. So, I do a greeting, which has been like the thing that has been the most eye-opening. Just the kids turning to one another, looking one another in the eye, and giving them a good morning, a handshake. I let them do whatever,
wow.
handshake, hug, high five, pinky, whatever. It's like your choice of how you want to engage and welcome the person to your left or to your right.
Okay.
And that
Okay.
was a thing to break them in, because in this day and age they don't do that. It's like the touchy feely, then the boy next to the girl, and they like, it's still that kind of elementary young kid stuff. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But
Right.
then over the course of the months,
What has it turned
I
into
broke them
now?
down, and they were cool with that. They were cool with, even up to giving each other a hug, which I also incorporated, wanted them to be more vulnerable with their feelings, because one of the components is to share. And the kids
Right.
have, over the course of time, been very vulnerable in sharing how they felt. And that was important, because we talk about, you got to be able to reach kids before you teach them.
Come on.
And, we talk about kids chattering throughout lessons. I got teachers in the building say, I can't stop kids from talking. They just talk too much and blah, blah, blah. I get these, I'm hearing in the teacher's lounge, and, and they look at me and I'm like, I don't have that problem.
Come on, bro.
I'm sorry, I don't have that problem. My kids, they don't talk like the way that you say that they're talking, because I give them a chance, an opportunity throughout the day to talk. But it's, systematic, and it's organized. They get to choose the topic, but I give them a chance to speak and
To
let them have
have
a
to
voice.
have that
And you don't
space.
let them have a voice, because there's down here, there's still this institutionalized way of teaching, especially at my school. Everything is kind of like that. If the kids are quiet,
They
not
think
making a sound, making a peep,
they think learning
you're
is going
good.
on. No, and it's not.
Yeah,
That's the
man.
worst thing in the world. I was talking
Yeah.
to my boy Rich last night, man, about this, and we were literally saying, as administrators, if I walk by your classroom and I don't hear anything, I'm coming in because something ain't right. Like that's not
Something is
learning going
amiss.
on. Like unless it's a
Something is amiss.
test, and you're just talking and they're just simply just sitting there like this. Nah, that's not the part of the learning process. It should be actively engaging with each other, and you should be in the perfect world. You should just be coaching and guiding. You shouldn't
Yeah.
be telling them this is how you.
Facilitating.
Come on,
Putting
bro.
information out there. Man, I don't want to bust out where I'm at, but I tell my kids, like I tell everybody, I say, one thing the shepherd does is he gonna tell you the truth. It may
Come
not
on.
always feel good, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. The kids run to my class. They got 7 teachers that they see. On any given day, they see 4 at a time. So it's like every other day, 4, 4, 7, 8 teachers.
So they're exchanging
I
classes. I
can't
got
keep the
you.
kids out of my classroom. They go to other teachers' classrooms, trying to get out to
Come
run back
on.
to my classroom while I'm holding the class, and they knocking on the door. Mr. Shepard, can I come in? Even if they want to just get on the headphones and get on the online program, they just want to be in the presence because I told them something that Doc told me. I told the teacher, I said, I grew up and was trained under the leadership of a man who said a lot of things that I hold true to my heart. And one was that
Pinellisms.
a dead teacher can't teach live children. Remember Doc
Woo!
said that? A dead teacher cannot
Woo!
teach live children. And in the building I am, if the kids don't tell on the teachers, because I never sit down. And the kids
Mm.
will come and say, oh, we in such and such teacher class. She always giving us work packets and sitting at her desk on her
Mm.
phone. And I say, hey,
Mm.
you better keep that quiet. I was like, because what I do is what I do. Like I never sit down. I sit down at lunch. Honestly, that's the only time I sit down, and that's like 30, 40 minutes. The rest
And
of my time,
and
I'm moving.
you probably don't
I'm
want to sit down at lunch with the rest of the staff. You probably want to go out where the kids are and kick it.
Oh man, I'm outside soaking up this South Florida sun every moment I get, bro. I ain't trying to be pleased, but
looking young, cat. I
you a
love it,
fool.
man. Hey, you
You a
know
fool.
that right there, man, says volumes because, dude, I'm getting tingles about that because it's probably the most simplest thing to getting young people to make the next level jump and step. Like you got to be involved and interacting into this. They got to know, and I think, and I know this, but in fact, they are the best judges of character, better than adults. Kids can look at an adult and can tell whether or not you being real or you being fake,
Man.
and they know how to adjust, how they're going to react to you. Oh, and this dude's a pushover. I'm just going to hit him with a sob story, and he's just going to let me chill. Whereas, man, I go to Mr. Shepard's class. Yeah, I better pay attention because he ain't gonna call me out, but I'm gonna feel kind of silly if I ain't following along with it. Like I want to get involved in because I know he's involved into me. He's invested into me as much as he wants me to be invested into him. But dude, that's a collective. And that has to come with building trust. That also has to come with a young kid saying that, hey man, you want to know my learning style. You want to know if I learn my best, if I'm an auditory learner or a visual learner or a kinesthetic and I got to have hands-on learning. When you see me talking in your class, Mr. Shepard, you don't blast me out like, be quiet. What are you doing over there talking? Ooh. You probably use what we all have been told, you and I, proximity. I just want to hear what you're saying. Then I keep it on moving. Hey, y'all get back on track. Y'all messing around. Come on, let's get back on it. And it's that kind of thing. And it's real smooth with it because you never want to embarrass somebody. Think about how we are as adults and we're sitting in these big conference rooms and stuff like that. We still talk to each other on the side. We still use our phone and sending messages on the laptop and all that stuff. We laugh at stuff that's funny. And then here's the problem. You don't want your kids to do the same thing. I remember Doc said that, man, in one of the meetings. And dude, it blew up right there and there. He said, y'all do the same thing that the kids do in the classroom, and I let y'all do it here. And we're professionals and we're adults, and y'all act just like the kids. And dude, it got silent. I mean, you were sitting right next to each other and just cracking up because I was like, the main ones that was talking, oh, these kids aren't really talking to that. He was like, and you are the main ones as adults
Yeah.
doing displaying this behavior. So I get it, man. I absolutely understand that. I want to know from you, man, like in helping kids to build interpersonal skills, what was the motivation behind the financial literacy though? Like that had to hit home. It's like we're not just counting money. I think I know where you're going with this because you and I talked about this when we were there, and I took a path of it, and you took a path of it. What
Mhm.
was that importance of doing financial literacy? And I got a feeling, man, we're gonna get talking into this pretty deep.
Yeah. Just going back to what I said, preparing our students for the world that they're going to enter into when they get older. The technology is here. It's going to be here. And it's going to continue to improve, maybe to our society's benefit or detriment. However you see it, conspiracies or all these movies that were out a long time ago, kind of giving us hint of where this thing was going to go, and here we are
And
now.
here we
Going back
are.
to, I was telling kids about When I grew up, it was 1984 and Big Brother is watching and George Orwell books and stuff like that, predicting what will happen,
The
in the
Terminator
future.
movie.
Yeah, the Terminator, all of that. Yeah, man.
That was AI right there, bro.
Every sci-fi movie, right, from all of that. And what I thought about and what I started, the reason why the impetus was not seeing enough of our kids on social media with the big names, the top 10. When I looked up the list of top 10 to 20 influencers under a certain age, and most of them, if not 90%, 95% of them didn't look like our kids. And I said, our kids
Mm.
are the most creative and the most talented. They're the ones who are, these kids are mocking and taking ideas from that, seeing our kids do and turning it into monetary gain. And what I started to tell the kids in my first lesson was to open up their phones, told them to take your phones out, open up their TikTok and Instagram, and tell me some of the kids or people that they were following. And when they were shouting out some of the names of those most popular ones, I had to ask them because some of them I'm not even remotely familiar with. The guy,
Hmm.
Mr. Beast, and all these people say, well, what does he look like? And every one of them didn't look like them,
Come
but they are
on.
subscribers. They are, and I was like, what is Mr. Beast and whoever these other people are doing that have you watching them and committing to being one of their 10 million followers that you can't do? And then
And,
once you do, go,
bro,
and that's
and
once you
that
do that, you got to know how to handle your money because you all can make money in a different way than I and my generation grew up learning that you had to go to college, get these degrees. I was like, the way that money is made now is much
mm,
different. You
mm,
don't have to. And yes, it's good
mm,
to be educated, but you don't have to go and spend 4, 8, 12 years in school to
mm.
be financially independent. And I said, you all got the power of the world in your hands. And I had to actually teach them about what they got.
Literally, literally. And even when they're not saying that, hey, we're gonna take a right quick break, come right back. Bro, I know I listeners are like, wait, don't go. I say, hey, we're gonna be right back. You on YouTube near me, not to hear me, 5AZ 24/7. Y'all hold tight. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
I told you y'all was gonna come back. I know y'all itching. You're like, wait a minute. They about to get into something real. Hey man, you on YouTube near me not to hear me? And like I said, here it comes. You too near me not to hear me. Hey Shep, for real, bro. You just hit on something that I think our parents who are listening or young adults are gonna listen about that the power of the ability to monetize the culture is literally in the palm of their hand. Like
Mm-hmm.
the videos and what you post and your followers, it can be instantly monetized and you could be the youngest person possible. Hey man, sometimes some of these older folks are getting their money too because they figure if I got you following, all of a sudden I can do product placement. All of a sudden now I'm doing all these different kinds of things going on. And I love what you said. You asked your kids in the program in the beginning to just, hey, take your phone out and tell me who you following and why are you following them. And then I bet you hit them with this. Why aren't you doing the same? Talk to me.
Man. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you, I remember the moment that it happened because the kids didn't realize because I was real impassioned about it. Like I was preaching
Mm,
because it was almost like the kids in front of me, they were what are considered the group of kids that I was speaking to in the school at that time are what is considered the highest level of a group of students in the school. They're the group of eighth graders who are already on high school track when they came into eighth grade. So they were
okay.
already taking like algebra one. They were like high academic kids, real go-getters, students whose families are supporting all of their endeavors. There's only a small cohort. It's like I think it's like 14 in the class. And I had got so in I was so passionate about what I was saying. It was almost like I was preaching to them and trying to get them to understand that they got to start now and that they're behind. That as much as they
Way
think that
behind.
they are ahead, look, you're comparing yourselves to the group of kids that are around you, and that's not who your competition is going to be.
Come on.
So I was like, your competition is out there somewhere beyond this neighborhood and out in the world that you're going to be competing with. So you got to understand that you're behind. But in here, you're ahead. It's all
Mm-hmm.
relative. And
Mm-hmm.
don't forget that because you got to keep pushing harder and further. Um,
How do they
and
receive
so
that? How do they receive that message though?
many of them,
I'm at the top of my class, Mr. Shepard. Like, what are you talking about? I'm behind.
yeah, they
I'm
understood
the
me.
and
They
all the
got
be
it.
all.
They got it, but it was emotional for them because prior to that, this was maybe about in October, school starting in August. So I had been building this thing to get to
Mm-hmm.
the point of where we were. I was, through the weeks and stuff, just kind of getting their minds ready for when we were going to kind of take off and run with it. Because I had also introduced them to reading some of Robert Kiyosaki stuff, you know,
Rich
embedding
dad, poor
some of that.
dad. Come on
Man,
now.
yep, yep. I embedded some of that in there. Um, but I'm gonna tell you the biggest thing that I wanted to tell them around financial literacy, because everybody now that's like been the buzz for like the last 10 years or whatever. It's not
Right.
new, but the biggest thing around financial literacy that I wanted to introduce them to is the idea of collective economics. That was the key that really blew the
Mm.
top off of because they've heard of financial literacy. Even some of their parents, when I engaged them and asked, have they, parents set them up with bank accounts and all this kind of stuff? Because I say it's literally not new because we've been talking about it in education for a while, embedding it into our daily instruction or in the school system. But now I'm taking it to another level. It's like, okay, when we do that, let's think about the different levels too. I was like, one of the things that we need to do as a group better is move away from individualism and individuality and just our own solo success if we can to doing it collectively and
Break
moving with a unit or group.
you're breaking down collective economics. So really break that down all the way down for me. Help me understand that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I actually teach using real personal experience. And I think that's what resonates with my kids because they know like everything that I tell them is something that I've lived or have tried to implement at some level of success and then pass it on to them. So I was telling them about Tiffany and I, and even moving down here to South Florida. She has a cousin who is here who was kind of like, the impetus and the, support of us moving down, so as you see in the background, they have this really, really nice house.
Yeah, yeah.
And and what we talk to them about is going in on other properties and other business ventures and pulling together our economic resources and going into other business ventures, whether it be real estate. Actually, they're starting open up a spa in April down in the Wynwood area. And so,
Okay.
we are trying to get in. They had some investors already, but her and I and her cousin, who's already tied into it, we're trying to find a way to put some money into it, to help out and
Mm-hmm.
invest in that. So I was just giving them little nuggets about, whether you do it with friends, but family. People always talk about, oh, don't go into business with family. I don't believe that. It's just that you got to know, just like anybody else that's not family, who to go into business with,
Come
and
on,
then
bro.
managing all of the
Come
things
on.
that come with it.
Come
And I
on.
think people shy away from that because they hear all the negative cliches about never do this with family, never do. Hell, for me, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I want to run and invite family into ideas or thoughts that will bloom and blossom into something
Mm-hmm.
financially gainful for the whoever wants to be involved. And I was in this particular group of students, they've been together since I want to say either second or third grade,
Mm.
and they're click tight. Like they're
Okay.
all planned on going to high school and doing all these things together. So I said, you all have
Okay.
the nucleus of the relationship right here. And you all are uber talented. And if you all would stick together in this way that you are all sticking together, other things as you all move and matriculate through high school and everything, something is going to come up where that strong tie relationship could go down the line of an idea or a thought about doing something in the world along business or whatever. And then, but you already have this foundation and this like-mindedness that you all can pull that off. And you should be thinking about doing it, whether it's two or three of you all going over here or
Uh-huh.
three or four of you all going over here. like that whole, and then doing something great, and then as a group, and then doing what I think I'm doing right now is continue to pour back into and give back in ways of knowledge through being a resource for you, giving this knowledge
Yeah.
to you that I have as an older man, giving it to you at this age and kind of guiding you through understanding what that means, and then taking
I
on
love
from
it.
there.
I love
Yeah.
it, man. That
Starting
that
early, basically, and not
that
waiting, because what's there to wait for? There's nothing to wait for anymore. You
you
know,
you
you don't have to
remember
wait.
you remember when I was at Chamberlain with you, I was reading Kiyosaki.
Yeah,
I was reading Who Moved My Cheese.
yeah.
And then you turned me on to the book that I still carry, man, The
The
48 Laws of
48
Power.
laws of power.
Robert Greene. Hey, man, you too near me not to hear me when I tell you this. If you
Yeah,
need to get yourself together right now, you need to change the trajectory where you are. You need to pick up those three books and you need to read them now. And I said the one book that you ain't gonna ever finish, you're gonna keep continuing to go back to it, is Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. I
yeah,
still am learning and processing through that as I go through life because it's so powerful in what it gives. And one of the things that I love that you talk about this with talking about this new collective and basically giving young people a new sense of a monetary life, but how you go about it is we don't talk about the things that we do and invest as adults, and we don't tell them young enough. So you remember when at we were at Chamberlain together, I had just started investing into properties with my boy Reg back in Maryland. And I was literally bringing in my deals and the paperwork because I'm working on that stuff during my breaks, but I'm also got my books out there and I'm reading. And I remember one time one of the teachers brought my class back in from up from lunch because I was still working on this stuff. And the kids came in, but they saw me, doing my thing and like, Mr. Davis, what's that book you're reading? What are these papers and what are these things? And I literally remember Doc told me, he said, don't be afraid to tell them what it is. Show them what it is. Explain it to them. And I was talking to them about how I was buying properties in Maryland. So I had to understand what comps were. So what are my comparable, values of houses of the house that I'm trying to buy? What's selling in the market around it? What's happening in the neighborhood? What stores and all this stuff? And one of the greatest things, that's why I love Doc, man, because he would allow us to stretch outside and do some things that were avant-garde. I remember taking
yeah,
the
yeah,
kids on a
yeah,
walk through the neighborhood.
yeah.
And there was a house that was literally two doors from the school that somebody was, rehabbing and tearing it down from the frame, building it back up. And because they were building those homes across the street from the school, there was a Harris Tweeter that was getting a nice grocery store that's getting ready to get built. And I literally started to take them around the block and explain to them all these things that I was learning based upon Kiyosaki's book, based upon, 48 Laws of Power, based upon these other books that I was reading about how to flip properties and things like that. And I said, I'm telling this to you now as a fourth grader, as a fifth grader. These are the things that I'm doing and preparing myself and moving forward. And I said, you can do this now. You don't have to wait. You can do this now. When your folks give you $100 for your birthday, or you get a bunch of money and stuff like that, you don't need to become consumers and spending all of that. Stack your money. Learn about investments. Let's learn about the stock game. Let's learn about, bonds and T-bills and all this other thing. I don't want this to be a mystery to you. I'm going to teach it to you now while you're in fourth and fifth grade. And you and I had these conversations about it. One of the kids took this to heart. You remember Andrew? Andrew helped his mother buy a house,
I
and
remember the
and
story.
and and literally was sitting at the table, has haggling and bargaining with the realtors and the bank people, and they're looking at this kid who's a fifth grader who was breaking it down. And they're just sitting there
Yes,
going
sir.
like, well, who did you learn that from? Mr. Davis told me, and this is blah, blah, blah. And, blah, blah, and Andrew was excited. But Andrew was also that kid who was getting kicked out of classes early on until he got to me. And so the power of telling young people early on, adults, and I'm talking to everybody who's listening, you got to let them know now about the things that you're learning financially, the things that you're doing to set yourself up now. So when you earn that paycheck, you got to figure out whether that percentage am I investing into this? How am I investing into this? What are the things that I'm setting up like as trust so that when something happens to me, you get this house, but it doesn't go into probate. You get these are your percentages. This is how it breaks them up amongst your brothers and your sisters, wives, husbands, cousins, uncles, all these other things. But you got to put this stuff into place now. And we don't teach that. We don't break that down to them. And I know you and I, when we have these conversations, we were always talking about, man, I can't wait to tell these kids about this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? How does that resonate now that you're getting that opportunity?
No, no. One, it feels good because the group of kids that I happen to be at the school with, they're thirsty for this, and I think me coming into that school has given a lot of kids a breath of fresh air. Like I said early on in our conversation, what I presented to them, and even my overall brand, as I was telling kids, I said I have to talk in this terminology. You are a brand. I'm a brand. My brand of education
Come
is
on.
actually what you're feeling because they have a response to me that is unlike any other way that they respond to other teachers in the building. I was like, I was like, that's an example of my brand, my style. I can coin this. This is something I can take other places, and it's valuable because I can get kids to engage, get them to be passionate about learning something. I was like, and that's hard to do, amongst many other things. I was like, just like I was like, you have a brand. And I was like, you
Mm-hmm.
just have to figure out what that thing is as you're moving forward. And many of the kids that are your age in another demographic and social economic status, by this time, well, the research says by at least sixth or seventh grade, they've already figured that out. Where
Come on, bro.
on this other side where we are, you don't figure out until college after multiple attempts at trying to figure out what is it that I want
Come
to do
on.
after switching majors, after doing all this. And then therein lies a whole nother conversation because what I partnered with another guy who has put me on to the notion and the idea of career alignment and career architecture at
Ooh,
this age
ooh,
level,
ooh,
starting in middle
ooh.
school.
Don't give it
So I'm
away.
in a whole
Don't
nother
give it away,
district in
chef.
a lane right now where I'm working with seventh and eighth graders on already mapping out their careers.
Don't give it
Well,
away. Don't give
the
it
whole,
away. Don't give it
oh,
away. Don't give it away. Look, I need them hooked back in. I want them to come back, man. You on YouTube never not to hear me. Y'all told y'all my boy is on here. We are laying it out, man. You on YouTube never not to hear me. Vibe AZ 24/7. Hey man, we coming right back. And then let's they better listen in because if you don't listen in this next segment, you're gonna be sitting there going, man, I wonder what he about to say now. Exactly. Here we go. Hey, we will be right back. Are y'all back? Are you tuned in? Are you back on YouTube near me not to hear me? I told y'all. You sitting there going, oh Dan, you cut us off. No, 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 I ain't cut you off. You back here on YouTube near me not to hear me, Vibe AZ 24/7 with my man Shep. This your man Dan. Hey bro, the ideal of a brand, of seeing yourself as a brand, but not only helping our kids understand, and I'm talking about our kids understand that if you're branding in your college years, it's too late. It's too late. You should be branding in your early formative years and understanding this process and this cycle. And you were just starting to get into it. Talk to me about it, bro.
yeah. So during the days where I had my grant back during COVID, in DC providing after school support to area high schools in the form of tutoring, SAT, ACT prep, um, workforce development, and then some STEAM programs. I met a gentleman at the University of District of Columbia who was a counselor for college kids, and we met through some mutual friends, and he had turned me on to the idea of career mapping and career alignment and architecture for kids at the middle school age because he's doing it in college, of course, helping kids figure out majors and all of that kind of stuff and kids switching majors. And you know what we went through and what is something is like a traditional pattern, if you want to say, for adults
Mm-hmm.
of even probably up until today, you get to college and you're still trying to figure out what you want to major in, what career you want to be in. You start taking classes sometimes in your thought of field, and then it is either too hard or you didn't, think it was expecting it to be a certain way, and you're switching like 3 times. And he turned me on to a book that was called, I can't think of the author's name, but it was called What High Schools Don't Tell You. And it had in quotes, their parents don't want you to know. So it was the there was about
Mm.
the the uh the quote unquote elites of our society and what they do with their kids and how they prepare them before they get to high school on whatever tracks that they're in by
Say that
putting
name. What high schools don't tell you, and what their parents don't want you to know.
don't want you to know. Yeah. And
Ooh.
it's by a female author. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. But I used that book in class with my students. I had actually bought them the book 2 years ago when I first got to the school I'm at now. Yeah,
Wow.
I actually bought them the set. And many of them are in now high school because they were like in 7th or 8th grade. But I got some kids who are still reaching out to me on social media saying, "Mr. Shepard, that book that you turned us on to, my mom is reading it, my dad is reading it. I can't even read it, because it's almost like we talk about this thing for us and us being in this society for these hundreds of years. Like we're always a day late and a dollar short. We're always behind, finding out something later on while because they make the rules of the game, they're always going to be ahead. But, by sometimes our proximity to whoever we rub shoulders or elbows with, we'll get a little bit of that knowledge and then we'll spread it, hopefully. And it becomes something that becomes within our culture. You hear folks all, and we've been through this a million times, in our, yep,
Ooh.
that's it. That's the book.
I had to pull the picture up for you. And then they got another book talking about what colleges don't tell you. And what the
Yeah.
parents don't want. Man, that is hot. Okay. You too near me not to
Yeah.
hear me talk to me, bro.
Yeah. But what's interesting is having first the kids to get shocked into reading this information about what these kids that we talked about that they are going to be going out into the world competing with, what they already have been doing that our kids
Mm.
don't start doing until their later years, if not high school, college. But in these households of these kids who are successful and these elites and how they prepare their kids to enter the world and try to have a leg up or whatever you want to call it, they're doing some of these things,
So
and they
what
said
are
at
so what
seventh
are
grade,
what are two things that they're doing that they don't want us to know? What are two things that you could right off the bat?
already having their kids take something called a strong interest survey. The strong,
Wow.
the strong, through my research and through this partner I spoke about, Mr. Andrews at UDC,
UDC.
it was a tool that was used by the government over 100 years ago
Huh.
when the armed services weren't even thought about being careers. You went in, that's like World War I and World War II. You go
There was
in,
no
you do,
ASVAB.
yeah, right. You go in, like my grandfather, and maybe your grandfather, if you were in the service, you go
Yeah,
in, you
my
did your years, you fought in the war, and you came out and you were done. Wasn't such thing as these careers that we have now in the military. So what they did was to prepare them to go into civilian life. They took this interest survey over like 200 something questions and it spit out this data and told them whatever skills that this interest survey drew, it's like a psychological report
mm,
that told them what career and professions they would be most likely good at doing based on these skills that they learned while they were in the service back then. And it was very reliable. And then at some point, because I had did the research, I looked it up on Wikipedia. At some point, the government, maybe in the 50s and the 60s, kind of discarded it because it became during the 50s and the 60s, there was a turn in the military. People being what they call career military, which is where
career.
we are today from going
Right.
back in 50s and 60s. Just to kind of fast forward through all, not give the history lesson. People can always, that's why we got these phones. You can look it up and find out more.
Wow. A
Um,
strong interest survey.
yeah, he found it, tweaked it, made it an app, and then he's had me pilot it at the school that I'm at working with the kids. And so we've been using this tool,
What?
and it's been, man, such a revelation to kids and their families to already start to think at 6th, 7th grade about their career paths, what this data spits out about who they are, what their interests are on like 7 categories, spits out a 12-page report basically about who you are. based on
Mm.
about 250 questions that you answer on like a Likert scale. Strongly disagree, somewhat likely. You just go through and answer these 200 and something plus
Hmm.
questions, and it spits out this 12-page report about who you are on like 7 categories: artistic, entrepreneurial. I can go on and on off the top of my
Yeah.
head, and I've gone through it and with the kids for each of their profiles, and we talked about it in class with each other. It's been the kids love it. The parents are eating it up because they've never seen anything like this, or their kids at this level engage in it because this is something that you would pay like hundreds of dollars outside of school to get done, and we were able to
Yeah.
use government funds and grants to have these kids get this profile themselves for free.
Oh my God, man.
And
I thought it was avant-garde to give kids the Myers-Briggs
same thing, similar
personality test. I was like,
personality, yeah,
yeah,
assessment,
and
yeah,
I thought, I was really doing something, but man, this takes it to a whole nother level because I remember the book that they threw at us when we were younger in school, man. It was What's the Color of My Parachute? Something like that, and they had you
right,
trying to figure out, your interest levels and things like that. I said, but this right here,
man.
it nails it down and then literally gives a kid an understanding about these are your trajectories. Now, here's the other thing I know, you and I both know. This is new somehow to American students, but this ain't new to the kids in Europe. This
Not at
ain't
all.
this ain't new to the kids in Asia.
Not at all. Not
You
at
know,
all.
they've
Not at
got
all.
they've got schools and systems that are built upon this so that these kids already know when they're over in those countries, when they get to high school, it's almost like college for them. It's
Yeah.
like you put them into tracking based upon their interests and their skills and their abilities. And it doesn't mean that they can't learn these other skills and abilities, but this is where your strong suit is. And it also allows you to open up and say, if you're interested in these other things, here are the things that you need to learn in order to step into these paths. We don't, I'm talking about the United States American education system. We don't do that. At least we don't do that for public school kids who are in the areas that look like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. We simply tell them, and this is what I hate: go to school, be respectful, don't talk back, don't question,
Don't
do
challenge
don't
anything. Yeah.
challenge, do what you're told, and everything will be okay. What does that sound like to you? I know what it sounds like to me. It sounds like when you get your number because you got incarcerated and they tell you here are the rules. You want to make it out of your prison system of going through kindergarten through 12th grade, here's your
Mm-hmm.
rules.
Yeah.
And
The two
and
C's. The two C's, somebody told me the other day having a similar conversation. They said the American education system is preparing you for the cubicle or the cell.
wow, you too near me not to hear me. Man, and on that, bro, we're gonna come right back at it, man. I know they at home, they're like, wait, don't do it. You gonna be right back. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back at you here on Vibe AZ 24/7. Hey man, we appreciate y'all tuning in on YouTube Near Me Not to Hear Me with my man Chef. It's your boy Dan. Hold tight. Hey, we are right back here with YouTube Near Me Not to Hear Me on Vibe AZ 24/7. I told you we were coming back. Man, we was hot on that break. Chef, I love what you told me on the break, bro, because you're right. We are at a crisis here in this country with counselors, particularly counselors that are in schools, particularly counselors that are in high schools, but counselors that are in middle schools. And what I want to break down really quickly is that for every one counselor in the average school, one counselor sees 500 students. On average, one counselor sees 500 students. So if you look at the number of counselors that are in schools that have 2,000 students, that's the average high school, that's a large public city high school. It's about 2,000 students. There's only 4 counselors. And let's be honest with this, they don't even get a chance to see all the kids. They don't even see them. Maybe their intention is right, but they don't even have a system or way of getting to meet all of those kids. And so my passion lies behind we're doing a disservice to children by just not providing them the guidance and the information. And it's not that hard to get to. What we're talking about, like this book, what high schools don't tell you, but and what their parents don't want you to know, this strong interest survey, all of these career, mapping and career architecture, this is basic information that is out there, but you're
Mhm.
expecting your professionals in the school to bring that to the kids, and they don't even have the ability to tell you who's 1 through 10, let alone 1 through 500, because they don't even get a chance to see them. And they're overwhelmed, overworked, and they get poo-pooed on. And they're not making that much money either. So this is like it's either got to be a labor of love or they can't wait to get out of there and go somewhere else. Oh, I did my time of duty. I gave to the schools and I'm out of here. I listened to counselors who've gone through those kind of things. Now, what you're telling me, Shep, is the things that I've been passionate about is that you are seeing now the technology side of it being these kinds of things being brought together to turn into apps that kids can use, that parents can use, that this information is readily available. And on this show, You Too Near Me Not to Hear Me, we bringing it right to you. We're literally telling you, here are the ways to address these things with your kids because maybe you're not the expert. Yeah, you may have a PhD at home. Yeah, you may have your master's, your bachelor's. You may be doing all these things, but you still don't have a pulse on how your children are learning because you did it way back when. Talking to me and Shep, we're the professionals in this. We're letting you know here's where it is. Here's what we're talking about. Here's how you get it done so that you're not scratching your head and saying, man, what's wrong with this kid? Okay, Shep, talk to me, man. Talk to me, bro, because you know me.
No, bro, you hitting everything on the head. So the gentleman that I've been speaking about for the last few minutes, again, he is a guidance counselor at the University of the District of Columbia. And he recognized the problem, and so he turned me on to this thing that he's termed career alignment, career architecture, but to bring it as far down as to like middle school and then possibly late elementary age kids, just to just for the simple fact that we know that to continue to be able to have our kids compete, whether you want to say nationally or globally, we have to be on the cutting edge of what other kids have been doing for quite some time. And it's that, we talk about things like having kids at an early age um, have in
Mm,
a
mm.
mentor in their passion at an early age, doing internships in the field of choice that they think that they want to do as a career right now. And we can say we want, oh, the kids, they don't really know what they want to do. Well, hell, university kids don't know what the hell they
Come
want to
on,
do, and they're
bro.
spending thousands of
Come
dollars,
on,
tens of
man.
thousands of dollars trying to figure it out. So we might as well start young while they're not
Come on,
shelling
man.
out tens of thousands of dollars while they're trying to figure it out. So, those are the things that we are not used to doing that they have been doing.
Shep, I gotta
And
have you. I gotta have you repeat that because I think it went over their head too fast. We're literally talking about
yeah,
children who are in fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh,
yeah,
eighth grade who are actually talking to people in fields that they want to go into. Parents, you have people in your who you work with, people who are in your neighborhood, people who are at your church. You're a brave enough parent to get online and find out who's a pilot and they're a private pilot and how can I talk to them because you live in my area and would you sit down and talk to my child about how you became who you are. Don't rely on your schools to do this, parents. You can do this yourself and show your children how to do this because the time that you get them involved into this earlier on, then now they can see these are the things that I need to do prepare. This is what it's looked like. They can ask all the questions of them. I had to have you stop and we pause that again because I think it flies over the head because there's this belief that, oh, they're too young to know that.
Hmm.
You're setting them up too early. If your child wants to go into business, you mean to tell me, adult, you don't know somebody who owns a business or who is in a business, and you can't have them talk to your kid? You mean to tell me that you think that that adult who brings you bring your child to that adult and you simply say, "Hey, would you tell them about how you became who you are and what you do and what your interests are and all this, and would you let them ask questions?" You think they're going to turn to you and say, "No, I don't have time for that"? Really? Do you really think that, adults? No way possible. Like I said, because when I've been asked, I never forgot this, Chef. I had a parent come to me and said, "My child really likes you being their principal, and they want to be not only a teacher, but they want to be a principal. Would you sit down and talk?" I said, "Pause, stop right there. Who's your child? Can I have this amount of time, and what days can I have them? And here's what we're going to be. And can I take them during the school day and have them walk with me?" I had this little kid put his suit on, and for an entire week, he was on my hip and he was where everywhere I was. So he could see life as it was for me. And it blew his mind. He was like, "I didn't know all this was involved. Oh, I now I see why you want me to study a little harder, why I want you to read, why I have to be careful about when I open my mouth and say some things, why I have to be quiet and listen, all these script." Yeah, bro, because this is real. You don't think
Hmm.
that a professional wouldn't want to do that with your child?
Hmm.
And you in doing this, tell me about the parents' reaction when this happened, bro. When they said, "This is what y'all want us to tell these kids?"
The well, there were two reactions that I remember vividly and fondly when I start getting deep into it. Both initial reactions from these two parents was that they wish that I would offer this to parents to them. The
Bruh,
kids came back to
say it again. An
the,
adult said
yeah,
what?
the kids of these particular parents, then it started to kind of be a norm because what I was doing, and I knew what I was doing. It was intentional. I was, as one of the young men, using this new jargon, he said, "Mr. Shepard, you giving away the sauce for free." Because, this is
Bruh.
the lingo. And I knew what he was saying. And I said, yeah. I said, MJ, the boy's name is MJ. I said, but they're learning about the world through me. I'm like, the knowledge and information is not for me to hold
Come
at
on.
all. I can't take this with me, young
Come
man. I got
on.
to give it to you. And who better to give it to than you? Why would
Mm.
you have? But he knew the value because, again, these students have never had, as far as they tell me, anybody that talk to them the way they talk to them,
Mm.
give the way that I give in terms of knowledge and information and resources. And he was like, "You giving this stuff away for free?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." Because one, it's out there for free.
Come
We
on.
just don't know. We don't take the time. Let me say that.
No, no, no.
They
Say
have
it.
phones.
Say,
We just don't take the time to access it because you can ask your phone anything you want. So it's not like me.
say it the way Doc would tell us. If you want to hide something from somebody, what do? You put it in a what?
Uh-huh.
You put it in a book.
Yeah. And
Ooh.
right now, all you only got to
Ooh.
put in the book. Shoot, man,
It's in your phone.
it's in your phone out there in the cloud somewhere. All you got to do is just ask Siri, ask Gemini. They'll tell you.
You don't
Maybe,
even want to
hopefully.
ask. You don't even want to
You
ask.
don't even want to ask.
You
So
you don't even know. I love it, man.
yeah.
Selling the secret
So
sauce.
one was the parents coming back and wanted and we're reading a book, and then two, I have one of my students I still talk to today. She's finishing up ninth grade. I had her last year. She said her mom and dad had asked her to ask me if I was willing to do this for adults, and that they would pay me to do what I'm doing for free for her every day because she's in the school or the class I am. So that's kind of been the reception, bro.
What's the name of the show? You too near
You,
me not to hear
not
me.
to
Y'all better understand. It's
yeah,
right
man.
here.
Yeah.
Woo!
And so it's just been fascinating again, as we bringing all this kind of like back to so people won't lose the context is like this coming back into the classroom from being an administrator and not being at the grassroots level has been a lot of emotions, but at the core of it, it has been something that I felt that needed to happen because I am now on this trajectory of more of us need to stop trying to run out of the classroom and be administrators and actually be back in the classroom and giving the kids the knowledge that we have that attracted the powers that be to pull us out the classroom. And I began to think it was a conspiracy. Like I'm literally on the
Mm,
verge of writing notes,
mm,
digging deep on this. Is this part of a conspiracy? Because again, you talk about us. Let's just talk about
ooh,
how we know Black males are treated when you are successful in that classroom. They're quick to pull you out. And when you're
ooh,
pulled out, you're pulled further away and disconnected from the kids, but you're trying to give this
ooh,
knowledge to disrupt the system. So it's almost like I'm like, do they really want it? Like,
ooh.
but it's a double-edged sword. It's like we got it. So we
I'm,
go running for the dollar. Oh, I'm about to be a principal and make
I'm gonna throw a flag on
hundreds
the
of
plate. You can't tell it.
yeah, but it's
You
like,
gotta hold.
bruh,
You gotta hold that,
they
bro.
pulling
You
you
can't
away
tell
from
it.
where you need to be. The kids need you to be in their face, giving you this, but they pulling you out of it when they
Ooh.
see how successful you are. I'm almost on the verge of like writing some
Shep,
notes about how this is a conspiracy, also of the
Shep.
many conspiracies of education.
We
How
we
they
we we got him on the seat. We coming right back with that one. We gonna come right back with that one, y'all. Hey, y'all hold tight. We gonna be right back. You tune in not to hear me. Vibe AZ 24/7. Don't you dare go nowhere, cause this last segment, y'all gonna be like, oh, y'all on one. Here we go. Hold on, just hold tight. Shep, you just hit me with something before we left, dude. You got very reflective about this whole thing. It is and I concur with you. It is a conspiracy.
conspiracy, right?
And it's not just about, I don't think it's even about black male teachers. I think it's about really good educators in the classroom. I think it's a conspiracy to take them out of the classroom and tell them that you're going to be a great administrator because if you can handle these kids, you can handle your fellow adults. You could run organizations. And you and I both have drank the coffee. We done
Yeah,
sipped the tea, bruh. And
yeah,
and and I agree with you 100%. I was talking to my boy Rich about this. I found my greatest joy not in being an administrator in the building. I found my greatest joy in being in the classroom. When I got a chance to touch the kids' lives right then and there, when I got a chance to share all of these things real because it was something inside of me. I know you're going to need this. And I'm not some Pied Piper, but I'm literally giving you the truth and I'm setting it in front of you. I'm setting the table, and here you go. Here's where I feel my soul is nurtured. And I will tell you now that the years that I've been out of the classroom, and even then, even away from schools, like my last position that I held as being a chief operation officer for a large, online company, I felt so far removed from my kids. I felt I was doing something great, but when I look back at it, I wasn't even close to touching them. I'm thinking, oh, I'm providing you these great programs and all these things like that. And I'm realizing that they're not getting it from me. They're not getting what I've got inside. And you were
mm-hmm.
just illuminating to that, bro.
Yeah. What I And I think you and I have had so many great conversations that sometimes I forget some of the things that we've talked about, but I'm sure we have talked about this. We both went through it. What what this moment has done for me was it reminded and it told me that my coursework and leadership actually better prepared me to be in the classroom than my coursework just to get certified as a teacher because it was like that to be an administrator, you must know pedagogy in the classroom at a level to support, develop, and train teachers, coach teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You learn all of those things at that level. And so naturally, if you can do all of those things, you're learning the ins and outs and how to be effective and being able to observe it and coach and make people better. If, and by doing that, coming now full circle, I've used all of my administrative coursework and teaching and training to be the teacher that I thought I was back then that I am now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
thus, what I was saying is that for all these men and anybody who has been touted as being highly effective or effective and engaging and reaching kids socio emotionally and academically, to be pulled out, and then I just remember what I was told. It seems like you always told us like, oh, because I had to be convinced to leave the classroom, and I remember probably a cliche statement that all people who are reluctant to leave the classroom get. It was like, oh, you can make a greater impact. If you, when you're in the classroom, you're impacting 25, but once you become a leader, you're impacting a whole school. And I just remember this, that
I
thing,
remember being
hearing that
told that to
in,
me.
in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I think everybody's been told that.
Man,
And then you find out the truth at some point, maybe along your journey. And I found out the truth along my journey. And I said, man,
I'll tell
that
I'll
was,
I'll tell that truth. You know the hardest thing about doing that? If you don't have the team surrounding you that
mm-hmm,
is willing,
mm-hmm,
don't have to know it, but you're willing to go through this
mm-hmm,
process to be at the very best, dude, you are fighting an uphill battle, and there are boulders coming down the hill at you.
right.
And they got you tied to the stake at the end of it, and the boulders that just hit boom, boom, boom. That was
Yeah,
constant. And the very people that you're trying to lead to the promised land to become better educators, they're resisting you because it's too hard to do. You're asking too much. And I'm trying to give you the formula of how to understand the standards that the state is telling you, which really don't mean anything at this point, and just getting you to understand how to connect with the child and understand who's in front of you and understand how they learn. And once you understand how they learn, then you can teach a better lesson. You can reach all the different folks. I swear to the Almighty, I wish that I could go back and roll the tape back when I was saying the decision to, yeah, man, I'm going to go into administration. Yeah, the money was beautiful. But you know what? My soul was stripped away from my heart's passion, which is the kids. I only went into this because I wanted to pass on what was given to me. Somebody who was an adult looked into my life and poured into me. And just like any pot, when my pot overflows, I want to pour into the next. And I wanted to continue to do that. But when you put me so high and there's no water being poured into me, and once I'm poured out, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. And
yeah.
bruh, I thank you for taking on this journey, man. I thank you for taking on this journey and being very reflective about it. It warms my heart, and I want people to understand this who are listening in. You know, education is not an easy job. If 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 you think everybody can do it, then why aren't they all successful? And the ones who are successful, they see us and they immediately want to pull us out. I think that's the conspiracy.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be in this classroom for 20 or 30 years and you're not impacting 2,000 students. You're only hitting 200 students a year, maybe 100 that are going through your class. But they don't understand that that 200, that my kids from Chamberlain, from Edison, those 30 kids, the impact that they've had now on everybody's lives that they've touched from there. My KIP kids, how they've been impacted from there. My Largo kids, every place that I've touched upon and been an educator, been a part, all I had to get was one. And I didn't respect that. Get to one. The chef, tell me about that teacher's life that you changed and the trajectory happened. And it's just like, man,
Oof, man.
because
Matter of fact, go ahead.
there's somebody in that who drank the Kool-Aid with you and just simply said, okay, man, I'm willing to submit. Mold me, work, let's work this thing.
I just had it happen recently, but I
Okay.
was trying to think of something in the past, and I was going to go to a gentleman that you and I both are, know fondly back in our Chamberlain days. But I'm going to talk about one more recent that just happened. So in the building that I'm in right now, there is a gentleman who's actually older than me. He's an he's a his title is he's a tech an educational technician. He's a
Okay.
techie guy, but I forget the term they call it now, he's like the technology person, but he integrates using technology, the latest stuff to teach.
Okay.
And and I work with him with in the math department. And
Okay.
so the gentleman, Mr. I won't say his name, he's 64, but he's
Mm.
a young 64, but
Mm-hmm.
he loves technology and blending it, and he loves math. But he does pullouts as well with small groups. But
Mm-hmm.
he was asked this year to actually hold a larger class, and he has no management. He doesn't
Mm.
have the acumen or the training or the teaching to really know how to manage students. So this goes back to the beginning of the year. Here we're now in the end of March. And we would have these conversations like we do in the teachers' lounge, like I was alluding to earlier in the conversation about teachers complaining about kids. And a lot of it, I never could relate, even in my younger days, and definitely can't relate now because I can relate and build rapport with students in such a quick fashion. So he was like, oh, man. And he's kind of like your ooh kind of guy. The kids kind of
Yeah.
run him over a little bit because he wants to teach. He's like, man, but and he said, but Mr. Shepard, I noticed that the kids, they just respond to you. And he's like throwing all this praise on me about, he notices that I'm a good classroom manager, blah, blah, blah. So I was always hesitant coming into this new setting on kind of revealing who I am. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to, I've never led with my resume anywhere I went. The work and the quality of who we are just always showed, and people would always ask, and they'd be like, "Oh, you look like you know something about, that kind of thing. I mean, playing coy and like, oh yeah. So this guy was like, man, he was like, and I started giving him some jewels, some strategies, things that I would use that work, and then because he would hear from the kids too. So
Mm-hmm.
about a month ago, he started, he's like, I'm gonna come by your class and I'm gonna just sit in. And to me, and I told him the story later on. I said, man, it's the kind of schools that I was a teacher in, where we did that on a regular. It was something that was part of the culture where we wanted to be better, and even our friends and colleagues, we were in competition to be the best for our kids, but we shared information, and we would often go sometimes and just sit in another colleague's classroom and learn and watch some of the techniques that they're doing so that we can implement them and continue to better, our instructional pedagogy and craft and all of that kind of stuff. So he
Mm-hmm.
came in and he saw me do my thing, and then he kept coming in, and then we would have conversations, and then some of the things he would say, oh man, I can't do that because he used to start saying that he couldn't do something. He would make up these lame excuses that teachers would make about why they couldn't do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
Mm-hmm.
started telling him, I was like, well, what do you think I do and how I get it done? Is it not that I don't want to do it, or is it that I have such a great passion for wanting kids to learn that there's nothing that I won't do
Come
to
on.
to
Come. Wait. Say it again, bro. Because you're too near me not to hear me. Say it again. Shepisms. Come on, bro.
Yeah. I just had to hit him with the real, and it stopped him in his tracks because it made him think about like, why are you putting these limitations on? Why you think you can't do what you see me do? Not exactly like I do it, because you can do it in your own way. But I said the thing that's holding you back is that you keep saying that every time I give you a little nugget or a suggestion, you come up with a reason or a way why you can't do it, or it's a bit too much. And then I just hit him with the real, like, well, what is too much for you for an individual student in your class to get what you're imparting to them that you wouldn't do? And
Shep.
then, and then
Wow.
then he got sons. So then,
Ooh.
me, I like to go, sometimes I'd be like, so what if these were your kids and you were the teacher of your kids? Would you
Come on.
not go out of your
I was
way
just getting
to
ready
do?
to go that route, man. What are you telling as a parent? What are you telling them? What'd you
Yeah,
tell? What did you
yeah.
say?
And then he stopped. Like, our code stopped him from all of that BS. And I had to just let
Mhm.
him, and then he thanked me. And then, in his little humble dorky little way, he started drinking the Kool-Aid because I wasn't being preachy to him.
Uh-huh.
All I did, which I can do sometimes. The kids tell me too. Funny, another funny stories about my kids now in this generation. They say I talk too much because they used to everything being so fast. One of my
Uh-huh.
boys said the other day, Mr. Shepard, he's like, I love your class, man. He was like, but you know what, man, sometimes you talk too much. And that was my reaction. I had to laugh
Hey.
because I didn't take offense to it, because I said, hey, man, I was like, I understand that. I could get on my soapbox. I say, I get it. But
Bruh.
going back to my guy, I was just like giving him these things that made him reflect, that he had never had probably anybody do with him, because unfortunately the leadership in that school, they're not educators. They are, but they aren't.
Okay.
And I have a high bar when I say that. It's like you have people in the education field, but they're not educators. And the leadership in my building, they're not educators. They're not about this work. And that's the
Right.
best way I can describe it. I'm about this life. I'm about this work. And I was telling what I was like, this is my mission. I was like, sometimes we find this thing. I was like, this is a mission for me. I was like, this is like my ministry. I said, and then
Hey.
I did that, bangs them over the head. They'd be like, "What?" I was like, everybody I think has a ministry in life. We can talk about it from a
Mm.
religious standpoint, theological. I was like, this is my ministry, and then they
Brother.
just,
Oh my God. Hey, I gotta say, man, dude, I cannot thank you enough, man, for blessing me with just taking this time out. Those who have listened in over the period of time that we put this together, I know that your head is spinning because there's a lot more information that you probably want. I
yeah,
trust and believe my man Shep will be back here on the YouTube Near Me Not to Hear Me family. This is my guy. If you got any questions, man, email them into the station, whatever you need to do. If it's something that you want to hear, man, just there's our Instagram page or whatever you want to get on Vibe AZ 24/7. Hey, listen, Shep, I just got to thank you, man, for one, for saving my life, man, and bringing me back to education. If it wasn't for November of 2000 and you telling me, Dan, I need you to come and teach at this school, I don't know where I would have been, bro. And I've never said that to you honestly and broke that down to you, bro. But I never would have been in the position and seen the things that I've done and been the places that I've been if you hadn't stopped. Because I literally took a left turn and said, I'm never going back. And
I
you,
remember.
you just simply just, hey man, just give me a year. You you
Yep,
were just you were just like just give me a year.
yep. That's all I needed
Just
was to
give me
get
a
through that
give me
year.
give me a year, bro. And it's November, so the school has already gone through a couple of months. He's like, man, I know what you do. I done talked to Doc. You got this, man. And dude, I have to give you your flowers, man, because over the years, man, if it wasn't for the fact that you saw that in me and we saw that in each other, but you said, I can't lose my man to what these kids could get from him. Dude, I never would have. I've been blessed more about that, man. And I got to put the thank you on that to you, bro.
Yeah, man. one, you're way more than welcome, and two, the feeling is mutual. I think that paths and lives, people's paths cross for a reason. I reflect on our long-term brotherhood, and I say, man, you know, and we got other stories. So
Oh,
I think we
for
saved each
for a whole
other.
nother show.
So the feeling is mutual. We saved each other in other ways. So I got
Ooh.
you know, and we'll say that story for another topic when you have that going. I'll definitely be glad to join and jump in and share that experience. But yeah, man, I know you are appreciative because I'm here right now
Yeah.
with you in this moment. So thank you, man, for again everything, inviting me on your show, and just being my brother for all these years, sticking by me. And my last thing, you got me going on deep stuff. I know you got to go. I was telling somebody the other day, I said my circles. I was telling the kids this because they don't know throughout life. They think that you gain more friends. I said no. As you go through life, your friend
Mm-mm.
circle gets smaller. And I said for
Mm.
me, the people who have continued to stick by me, I was like I have more than tested them. I was like, I'm not an easy pill to swallow. I'm not,
Mm.
as all these cliche saying goes, I said, man, but if you are still with me, I know you with me, because I will put the friendship to a test. It's not intentionally. I say if I don't know if you have anybody like that in your life. I think we all have that. I
Ooh.
say that for a lot of my friends because I am kind of a tough pill to swallow at times, but all heart and
No,
all
bro.
genuine. I was like, but I will put that friendship and
You
that
you
loyalty to the test.
you easy like Sunday morning, bro. You easy like Sunday morning, bro. Hey, man. I said
And I appreciate you.
because you know what they say, man. Birds of a feather, bro.
Yeah.
Birds of a feather. We flock
Yes,
together, man.
sir.
And with that being said, man, hey, you are on Vibe AZ 24/7. I can't thank you enough for listening in. If you like what you've been hearing, man, like, subscribe, the whole nine. This is the show, You Too Near Me Not to Hear Me. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us even on a Facebook page. Literally, the entire title, You Too Near Me Not to Hear Me, all together. You will love it. Please keep listening in. Tell your friends about it. And I guarantee you, my man Shep will be back. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And we out.